Welcome to the show, Mike Crawford, Young Jerks. We're back live again. Just wanted to thank our audience for how many listeners we've had recently, especially the last couple dozen podcasts and even the latest episode. I could feel the amount of people who listen to that. It's funny, just from the feedback over the last week and a half. And we're still going to be talking about it tonight, of course. What's going on at the Mass Cannabis Control Commission, Trulieve, all of it. We've got a lot to talk about. We may take a call too. There's an event going on this week, Black Cannabis Week in Boston. May talk about that tonight too. But yeah, just something related to what we've been covering so far, which over the last episode was all about a lot of what's been going on at the Cannabis Control Commission. And people want to know if we're going to do a protest, and we'll see. I just on this, I really want to talk about tonight about Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission governance, how it's governed, how the system operates over there, how this bureaucracy, this commission operates, and what happened today and some of the commentary. We're definitely going to get into that. If you want to call in tonight, we definitely will take your calls. But, again, we're going to be talking about Mass Cannabis Control Commission chaos for the second episode in a row tonight. But we'll take your calls too. The phone number, 978-560-3155. I think I got the phone number set up. Had a couple discussions this week about the Mass Cannabis Control Commission with high-level folks who have been, past and present part of the Cannabis Control Commission in Massachusetts, and we were discussing the governance. It's a tough word to say, governance, how the organization runs itself, how it manages itself. And one of the, a couple of the people wanted to be off the record on this, so we're going to respect their privacy, but I will say they're high level. They're obviously high level, past and present. We're going to play some audio from the commission today, and they mention a lot of names, and some of the names are the people we talked to. So what I'll say on this too, it's just, there's an unfortunate situation, I think, going on in the Cannabis Control Commission, where I think chaos is a good description of what's happening. And just talking to the high level folks, they think that there's a governance issue. They don't want to name any names. They don't want to point any fingers. But basically what, was relayed to me, which I think was really cuts right through, what we've been noting and seeing for months and months and years now, is that the Cannabis Control Commission should ideally be run by the chairperson, the chair of the Cannabis Control Commission, and those commissioners obviously should have some input on what happens at the Cannabis Control Commission. But really what's been going on, I've been noticing for years now, is that the executive director seems to be the most powerful person in the Cannabis Control Commission. And there's no real oversight of their activity. And it turns out, speaking to some of these high-level folks, that is 100% correct. There is no oversight. And the way that it's set up, it should be set up that the executive director reports to the chair of the Cannabis Control Commission. That's ideally how it would be set up. But unfortunately, it's not set up that way. And the executive director reports to 5 people, the 5 commissioners. And what this person had relayed back to me, the exact quote is, instead of reporting to 5, it might as well be nobody, because that's exactly the way it works. When you answer to 5 people instead of 1, you actually answer to nobody. And that's what's been going on with the executive director. And it's a failure of governance of the way the Cannabis Control Commission was set up. And so you have an executive director. Let's just put it this way. This executive director hasn't had a performance review. They're going on 6 years with all of this enormous change, and this person has received no feedback from their supposed bosses, the Cannabis Control Commissioners. No review, nothing, because a review would have to be done in public. And this is the problem with the Cannabis Control Commission. You have an executive director who they can't give any review or performance in private, because it could be some kind of weird conflict of interest. And against the privacy laws and all this other stuff, against the public meeting. I think public meeting laws are great. I think they should apply to the licenses and the applications and the major things that the Cannabis Control Commission is doing, like reviewing regulations, which they're doing right now. But when it comes to the actual management of the Cannabis Control Commission, I think it would be much better if they did do these things behind closed doors, which was brought up today at the Cannabis Control Commission. However, it appears that they're not able to do that on this. It would have to be done in a public meeting. And because of that, no commissioner is going to actually do that to the executive director or any of the people that work at the Cannabis Control Commission. So the review of the executive director doesn't happen. The executive director basically runs the show with no oversight at the Cannabis Control Commission. And that is the problem that we're seeing with governance of the Cannabis Control Commission. There he is. This is the current and only ever executive director at the Cannabis Control Commission, Sean Collins. And what I think was interesting, the last hearing before today, the chairwoman, Shannon O'Brien, at the end of the meeting, brought up some interesting information about executive director Sean Collins and his future plans and his leave, and how that they were really understaffed and that they don't have key hires in place, and they're just trying to onboard certain key positions, and other positions are they don't even have. They have a lot of openings. This place is not staffed fully. They spend a lot of money on things like lawsuits, employer lawsuits, I believe. They spend a lot of money on arbitration, but they can't fill seats, and it's understaffed, and it's chaos. And the executive director answers to nobody. So Shannon O'Brien, on the last hearing before this one, actually brought it up, and it just totally freaked everyone out in the media, apparently. And apparently it freaked out the other commissioners who weren't happy about it, specifically Ava Concepcion and Nerys Camargo, who you can tell were the most freaked out. And they've also made some statements today that we're going to talk about. But, I think for me, it was refreshing to see that Shannon O'Brien, you could tell, she has taken a lot of crap just being on this commission. From the very beginning, you could see a political divide among the commissioners about even her appointment. And I feel like the way that they played politics against her was unfair from the very beginning. She hasn't shied away. You can tell that she's used to being in the public and isn't, afraid to take some heat to kind of bring transparency and do what she's supposed to do at the position. And she cited today, we're going to talk about this too, she cited a Boston Globe editorial, an editorial they basically wrote after a lot of our coverage about Lorna McMurray. And it was asking for more transparency at the Cannabis Control Commission. And that's what Shannon O'Brien, to me, was doing at that last meeting. She was providing some much needed transparency, trying to skirt around this crazy situation where the executive director never gets any feedback, never gets anything, just does whatever he wants, and nobody can criticize him. She actually tried to bring some transparency. The other folks aren't happy about it. So we're going to discuss that tonight. But I think the bigger issue, beyond even the personalities, whether it's Shannon O'Brien, Nerys Camargo, Ava Concepcion, or Mr. Sean Collins, just forget the names. The system, it is flawed. And an audit, the senator, I'm trying to remember his name right now. We had him over on the show. The senator's bill that wants to do a mass CCC, audit. I don't think that's going to fix this. It won't fix this. We need something that actually allows the executive director to know that, get feedback, to get reviews, to actually have a boss. Because right now, the executive director, he's not appointed. He wasn't elected. He runs the show. So that's what we're talking about tonight. We need to somehow we're going to have to change, on top of all the lists. And the things that, I think Shannon O'Brien was reacting to, and especially what we've been reacting to on the show, is a lot of the scandals that we've unearthed. And some of the scandals that we've unearthed is just a little bit. There's a lot more scandals out there that we haven't even touched, people that have been trying to get on this show for months, other folks that we haven't even, other people have covered their stories. There are so many scandals within the Cannabis Control Commission, and there's a lack of transparency. There's a problem with their investigative process. There's a problem with the fact that Lorna McMurray's family has been waiting now. It's going to be 2 years coming up this year in the new year. It's going to be 2 years, and they still don't have any information about what happened from the investigation that the CCC has done. And again, the reason why myself, especially, I feel like, get so fired up about this shit is because they don't respond. And just a perfect example, we said, let's close this investigation and let Lorna's family know what's going on, what happened. They haven't contacted anyone. They stopped contacting everyone. They haven't talked to Lorna's mother ever. We say that this week on the show. I throw down. I get so upset. Guess what happens? They're calling Danny to get Lorna's mom's number. So I guess we have to be louder because that's the only time they listen to us. So I do have a guest here. We're going to bring up Kizzy Key, I believe, and we're going to talk about this Boston Black Cannabis Week in Boston. Let's bring her up right now, and I can go back. We're going to get back to True Leaf. We have some things about True Leaf I want to talk about tonight too, and the Cannabis Control Commission. But I want to welcome a guest. What's going on? If they say your name right, is it Kizzy Key?
Yes, it is.
What's up? How you doing? Tell us about what you're doing. Black Cannabis Week in Boston.
Yes. It's actually already started. I'm actually here right now at the mixer. We're getting started right here in Roxbury. Big shout outs to Ruta and who gave us our location. But Black Cannabis Week Boston is was a full week here in Boston. We're gonna end it this Sunday in Hyde Park with a nice cookout. So we're asking everybody to come out. It's free.
Awesome. So where's the event right now?
So the event right now is actually in Roxbury. I'm actually here right now as we speaking up. In Dudley, they call it Nubian Square right now. The new name for it. It's rooted in. If anybody know what Rooted in Dispensary, they actually gave us their office space for free. They donated it to Black Cannabis Week so that we can have a mixer and network today. So if any guys want to come down, it's 2225 Washington Street in Roxbury, Mass.
Awesome. And that's happening right now till like what time tonight?
Right now until 11 o'clock.
Oh, people can go now. Cool.
But if you miss out, don't worry. On Sunday, we have a very good event coming up. It's called the Cookout. Because, Black folks, we love our cookouts and stuff like that. So we have a huge cookout. It's going to be in the Hyde Park area on Truman Highway on this Sunday. We have guest speakers coming in. We have Goldie Piff. We have Vanessa from Legal Greens coming in to speak. Of course, me. I'm going to be speaking about cannabis. We got performances. Boston Cheese is coming to perform. Tay Mitchell. A fun full day. Plenty of vendors and all types of goodies and things that I saw. So, and it's free.
Awesome. And why did you decide to do this?
Because there is no Black events. So most of these events they're giving out. So you got to get me started a little bit. So I decided to start this because I go to a lot of these events and they just don't look like us. They don't look like Black people. And a lot of these events are catered to us. We're the speakers and things of that stuff, but we're not the ones that put it on. So I figure let me put something on for us and by us and for us. So that's where this came from.
It's awesome. And has the response been good so far?
No, but it's the first year. So I think that, it's not a time promoting and things of that sort. We did start and promoting a little late, I feel like, in my opinion, but no, I wish people would have supported a little bit more. We did not get any sponsors. All this is coming out my pocket. I am truly funding this by myself. So I would have wished that we had a little bit more support from the cannabis world, but we didn't. But that's fine because that's why we make up 4%. We trying to change that now and keep it going. So I am going to come back next year. So they didn't support me this year, but I will be back next year.
I love your honesty about it. I did an event earlier this year, and it's very difficult, especially now. It's a difficult time for cannabis to get anything going.
No, I don't think so though. I think people pick and choose where they want to go to. And like I said, this was our first year, so we gave people a little bit of pass. People might have not alone it too. I got a lot of people who were out of town and things that I saw. So I gave people a pass because it's the first year. But honestly, I see Netcan every year. It sells out, and their packets is it's ridiculous. I see Harvest Cup selling out. I see a lot of these other events selling out. So I don't know. I think people just picking and choosing what they want to do in these cannabis world. But don't worry, y'all can support me next year. Or if you want to support me now, actually check out the website. We actually have t-shirts. I have one of them on.
I love it.
And we
What's
have book bags. So you can
nice?
support in other ways.
And so, what's the website again? We did link that up in the show description, but I don't have it in front of me right now.
It's www.blackcannabisweekboston.com.
BlackCannabisWeekBoston.com. People check
Yes.
that out. Definitely. It sounds good. I hope more people support you because I feel like I supported this. I was a little late to it too because I've been so busy doing all this other stuff. But it's like I looked at it, I was like, this looks like a good event. Like I don't support events generally just because you know, you know how it is. Like you said, like there's a reason why I don't support most events. Let's put it that way. But I'm supporting you guys, so I hope
Thank you.
that people check it out on Sunday and tonight too. It's great that you're doing this till 11 p.m. People can hang out in Roxbury. You said Nubian Square, is that right?
Yes, Nubian Square. Come on out. And actually, we got the social quality bus out here too. So we are smoking on the bus, having us some fun. So just come on out.
Awesome. And what would your advice be to like anyone who's like in the cannabis industry right now, like workers and entrepreneurs, or just people like who are new to this, all the BS that we've probably been through?
I would say have patience. I've been in, I want to say the legal world. I say the legal world. I've been in the legal world for maybe about 3 to 4 years. I'm a social quality participant here in Massachusetts. So I've been in the legal world maybe about 3 to 4 years now. But I've been in the legacy market for way longer. And it's a big difference. I want to say to tell people to be patient. Like if this is your passion and if this is something that you really want to do, you have to be patient. You got to know that everything's not going to work out right. Things are going to mess up. There is no funding. Don't look for it. I don't care how many people say there's funding. There is no funding. There is nothing, but it can be done because people are making it done. So I just want to say, just tell people just have patience in this industry, and you'll get through it.
I think I need that. I think that was for me too, because I feel like I need some patience lately. I'm getting so like my last show, I was pretty fired up. I get angry. Do you get angry too, like about like
Yeah.
what do you think about the Cannabis Control Commission right now?
You know what? I have not been following them, and that's on purpose. Okay, so let me tell you why I haven't been following them. After I found out that there was no money in the funding, I am done with like this whole political world and all this, all this craziness. Because at the end of the day, I was the main person last year, for this funding. I was advocating. I'm not even advocate. No, I'm not. That's not even me. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm from the legacy market, but I was in the hood, getting people to vote, talking about this funding and everything else. Like, yeah, I'm on a board, and come to find out, it's only $2 to $4 million. I'm over it. I'm not with the commission. And then, I like Commissioner Cargo. I think she's doing a great job. But I heard that the social consumption is not even coming down for like another 2 years. So
Well,
it's
that's
like,
what I'm saying about it. Like, because
why was we fighting?
I
So a person like
yeah,
me,
yeah,
who's been fighting for it,
right.
trying to get it, I don't even qualify because
And
technically my
even
business in
like
3 years won't be
uh,
social
uh,
quality.
and why have we been waiting for so long? Like I think social consumption is going to be a shit show anyway. It's not going to be great.
Mm-mm.
And we know that, but like even like these listening sessions, to me, it's like you're doing listening sessions for this to like stretch it out and make yourself look good. It's like I know you think you're building consensus, but it's just like we've been waiting for so goddamn long. Like how like I'm sick of
Right.
I think everyone's like, even with like the new stuff that's coming out now that's supposedly good, it's like, well, how long? How much longer? How much longer? We've been waiting forever. It's like the game is over and now you're gonna fix things, right? Like
But they're still not fixing things. All they're
right.
doing is, I feel like they putting band-aids over little things so that we won't look over things. Like the funding was very good, but it means nothing because we have no money in that funding. That social consumption, that I'm the one that actually came out with that idea. I'm the one that put that idea out that we should have two social consumption. What's the point of having one? Like they have two for delivery, they have two for two. For instance, I'm a social quality participant who does a lot of events. That's my thing, and I
Right.
love social consumption events. Honestly, only time I only go by the rules is when I'm doing it at somebody else's place. When Kizzy's doing it at her own place, I don't care. We smoking, we
Right.
doing what we want.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you made the social consumption thing, they were going to start messing with people like me. So there should be another license for people like me who don't want a dispensary, but just want
Freelancers.
to do
I
throw
agree.
events.
I've done like I used to do a lot of events. I don't do much anymore, but if I was going to get back into it like ever, that would be the way. Freelancing, just doing a one-off event or two, a series like that, just for the common person. Like that, absolutely. I'm glad that you brought that up tonight, and that you've done so much on that already. And I wish you the best of luck on your event tonight with the networking and the event on Sunday. So I tell people again how people can find out more about what you're doing.
Yes. Make sure you go to our website. It's www.blackcannabisweekboston.com. Don't forget the Boston, because there is two, but we're the one in Boston. So www.blackcannabisweekboston.com.
And we got a comment too on Facebook that says, Kizzy Key, thank you for putting on Black Cannabis Week.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And so thank you for calling in and enjoy your night tonight.
Thank you. And thank you for having me so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome. I'm glad we could help.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kizzy. We're the Young Jerks, and Mike Crawford is the host. That's me. And we were just talking to Kizzy Key about Black Cannabis Week. It's happening tonight and Sunday night. Check it out. She didn't get enough support. I like that she is honest about it. And people do pick and choose. So definitely, I think people should just check it out on Sunday and give it some support. And I like the fact that she has been active too, even though she's checked out on the Cannabis Control Commission, like a lot of people have recently. We were also talking about some other stuff tonight. We started to get into it, the Cannabis Control Commission, about the governance issue. The Mass Cannabis Control Commission being in chaos. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna read a few comments. I'm hoping this isn't a long show tonight. I have a lot of content that I wanted to get into. It might be a couple shows from now too, but we've gotten a lot of phone calls, a lot of messages, things I haven't even followed up fully on as well. So there's a lot more to come here, but we'll see what we can get to tonight. I'm gonna throw up some of the comments. If you have a comment or you have a phone call, a question, you can definitely do so. We got a phone number, 978-560-3155. If you miss us live too, you can always leave comments later through the voicemail. So 978-560-3155. You should be able to leave a voicemail that way. There's also through Spotify for podcasters that we use. You can leave voicemails, like 1-minute voicemail messages that way as well. So there's multiple ways that you can get in contact with us and provide content for the show if you'd like to do so. We're going to actually play some more of those messages, like I said, in probably the next show from now. But I'm going to post some of the comments. Here's a comment. Facebook user says, this really makes Massachusetts look very bad in rulemaking. Yeah, it kind of does. Like the whole Cannabis Control Commission is like, yeah, I think it doesn't make Massachusetts look good. Laura Raymond posted, she's the mom of Lorna McMurray. And that was another thing on the last episode. Laura called in again. Like she's called in a few times over the last month. And it's heartbreaking to talk to her, just to know what she's going through. She just posted a comment. She said, CCC is trying to get in contact with me. My lawyers told me not to talk to anyone at this time. So I referred them to my lawyers. I love it. But isn't it amazing, Laura, that after all this time, that the CCC is now finally contacting you? After I went nuts on them last episode and said, you've never contacted Laura. So, I mean, that's a lot of what I wanted to talk about tonight is just the governance. I think that there is a problem at the Cannabis Control Commission. Before we get to the True Leaf stuff, you know what I want to do right now is I just want to play the audio from kind of what went down. So again, we're just to backtrack and just review. A few weeks ago, Shannon O'Brien, I think it was it's about 10 days ago, because I think it was the 31st or the 30th of July. It's like the last week of July. There was a CCC meeting, and at the end of the meeting, Shannon O'Brien had mentioned that Executive Director Sean Collins was about to file for a lengthy leave, and he had already contemplated resigning from the position months ago, but she had asked him to stay to get through this period, of work that they're doing right now, and to actually bring on some new employees, and they're still in the middle of that. So she wanted some kind of what is actually going on before this guy goes on an extensive leave. We've got so many issues. We're doing a regulatory review with the Cannabis Control Commission right now. There's investigations that have happened or not happened. There's a lot of issues with testing. There's a testing scandal with MCR Labs. There's a testing scandal that we exposed where Trulieve used a husband and wife team to do fraudulent testing. Like, they haven't contacted us on that. There's a lot of scandals like that are out there. The CCC has been unresponsive. I called Sean Collins, the executive director of the Turtle, because that's the way they act. They cover and hide. Instead of actually addressing things, instead of actually doing what professional people do, is you actually do your job and address things, they cover and they hide until we scream and yell, and then they actually act. That's been the way the kid, and not just myself, other people too. If you noticed, when they did a protest a couple years ago, all of a sudden things started happening for people. That's the way the Cannabis Control Commission has acted for almost the entire 5.5, 6 years, whatever it is they've existed, with Sean Collins as the executive director. So that last meeting, O'Brien brought it up. People freaked out. We had another hearing. That was today. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna bring that up. I'm gonna play some of this video from today. And what you're gonna hear is Shannon O'Brien opens the meeting by apologizing. For me, I felt like I didn't need an apology for someone actually doing their friggin' job and asking for transparency. I felt like the apology actually was kind of disappointing in a way, but I get why she did it. She's trying to rise above. She's trying to do the right thing. So Shannon O'Brien apologized for what she did at the last hearing. And what you'll notice is that Shannon O'Brien, mentions as every single commissioner is like, she's trying to be nice to them all. You can tell. I know for a fact, part of me on all of this stuff, why I haven't wanted to talk about it or go after Nerys Camargo or go after Ava Concepcion or even go after Sean is because of Shannon O'Brien. I felt like Shannon O'Brien's doing a good job. She's going to work it out with these folks. But then I just watch them backstab her at every chance they get to me. And they don't seem united. And there seems like there's issues. So I get mad. I do. It's hard for me to control myself. I think I'm going to listen to Kizzy Key and have a little patience right now with all of them. But what you do see in this is that she's trying to be conciliatory. You can tell she's trying to rise above and be a leader on this stuff. And obviously she is under some scrutiny. She is under some pressure. So she apologizes. She talks about all the good things these other folks are doing, but she also does bring up the fact that she's trying to be transparent, and that she brings up the fact that the Boston Globe put out 2 major pieces. The Boston Globe, not like little news stories. These are editorials from their op-ed, not from like a person like me writing in or Grant Smith or whoever, a member of the community, right? No. This is the Globe editorial board deciding as the Globe editorial board, this is what we believe. This is the cannabis, and they're saying the Cannabis Control Commission needs to be transparent. The chairperson needs to be transparent. They need to do better. They need to investigate. They need to look at all of this crap that basically the Young Jerks and other media outlets have been exposing. And they have one hearing on it, basically. And Shannon O'Brien makes Sean Collins answer some questions on it for the first time in his life. And then that was it. So Shannon O'Brien in this meeting today to open it up was mentioning the reason that she took these actions is because she has a responsibility to be transparent with the taxpayers, with the stakeholders, with Lorna's family. She's trying to actually do the right thing. And then you're going to hear the other folks, again, Nerys Camargo and Ava Concepcion. I think they went after her, and you're going to note how they went after her. And I think that Nerys Camargo too kind of tried to go after us, which was weird. And I don't know if it was specifically us or just the media itself, but I saw her giving advice to the media, like, you should contact this person it's like, you don't think we do? I mean, the advice that she gave me was laughable because we've contacted who they told us to contact 100 times. And like, the only time we've ever gotten a response from them is when we had Shannon O'Brien on. And they actually it was funny. We contacted the press office, the Cannabis Control Commission, so many times they don't respond. And then they're reaching out to us when Shannon O'Brien came on the show. I mean, that's the reality. Like, and she's trying to give the media advice. Like, I would focus on what you're trying to do, not give the media advice. I could tell you're very concerned about the media. That was what we could, what we got from this today. So I'm going to try to get that up and play it today. Del Griffin writes, the Cannabis Control Commission. See, for me, I wish it was the Cannabis Control Commission. I felt like if Shannon O'Brien was truly in control, this shit would run right. That we would know what happened at True Leaf. We would know what we would have. Not only we would know what was going on with the testing and who's getting investigated, we'd like have action on it. I wish it was the Cannabis Control Commission. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to play. I want to play this and I'm going to comment on it a little bit tonight. This was from earlier today.
To my fellow commissioners regarding the way I made an announcement before I left the July 28th meeting. I know I caught you off guard, and I know that there was some concern about that. At the time, I believed I was alerting you to an important eventuality that I'd only discovered a day before. The CCC is already understaffed and overworked, with several key positions unfilled for many months. We have a lot of work to do just to finish the work on municipal equity regulations. I was privy to information that I believed would place greater pressure on how we manage the commission, and I believed I had a statutory duty to address that situation. This discovery was time sensitive, and as you know, open meeting law prevents me from speaking privately about business with my fellow commissioners. I believe that even with a delegation memo to identify employees who can sign off on needed approvals, a long gap without a leader could create confusion, lack of continuity, and prevent the commission from transparency.
So I'm going to stop right there. So what you have right now, this is from earlier today, Shannon O'Brien. This is the Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission. The chairperson, Shannon O'Brien, is apologizing, but she's also explaining that they are not allowed actually to make these big decisions and to go an executive session to discuss what's going on with their executive director. So she really didn't have a choice.
Apparently and efficiently doing its job to serve the public. We have a lean but talented staff overseeing $1 billion a year industry, and under the best of circumstances, it's a challenge. Again, I sincerely apologize for any confusion I created, but I believed I was alerting my fellow commissioners to an urgent situation that we needed to address to preserve the commission's interest, and I was doing it in a public forum as required by open meeting law. Within weeks of my being appointed chair of the commission, the Boston Globe wrote an editorial with the headline, "The Cannabis Control Commission needs to right its regulatory ship." It's long past time for commissioners, including the new chair, to demand a role in an investigatory process instead of leaving it to the commission bureaucracy. Boston Globe also editorialized in April of this year about lack of transparency and accountability. It begins by rightly praising the work done by the executive director, the staff, and the inaugural group of commissioners. It stated, quote, "Standing up a new agency and industry from scratch is challenging, particularly with the complications caused by federal prohibition." I echo what the Globe has stated. What has been accomplished by our commission and our staff in setting up a new, highly regulated industry has been an amazing feat, and they all deserve congratulations. With the hard work of our staff, Massachusetts has set the standard for other jurisdictions to follow. However, nearly 6 years in, I believe it's time for the commission to do some sharp self-reflection to determine if doing the same things we started doing in 2018 makes sense at this point in time. I believe it's time for us to assess how we've been conducting the work of this agency and make necessary pivots to ensure we are having the impact that was promised when this law was first passed by the voters of Massachusetts.
I'm stopping right there. And there you go. I mean, the Globe was asking for exactly what we've been asking for and what Shannon O'Brien wants to see. Transparency, accountability, especially on investigations. I don't know why the other commissioners don't want this.
Going forward, I have a few goals I'd like to achieve, and I would hope to work collaboratively with my fellow commissioners to make them a reality. We need to ensure that our testing labs are honest brokers and patients and consumers have safe products that are accurately tested.
Now again, I'm going to stop that. Shannon Bryan, again, she's bringing up testing labs. She wants honest brokers. We proved that True Leaf had a husband and a wife, a husband cultivator at True Leaf, an employee, broke the law, taken the product to the wife to test at a testing company. We showed you the law. It was clear as day how it was broken. We've heard nothing. We've heard nothing back. No one's contacted us. We know the Cannabis Control Commission has seen that. And that's not the only thing. Like, there's so much fraud. It's like right in your face. And the Cannabis Control, we even showed you too. We had the experts on. Dick Boston did the story about it. Talking Joints memo, covering the experts, what they said on that show, that episode. No follow-up, none.
With our biotech industry, world-class universities and hospitals, Massachusetts has the opportunity to lead in the area of cannabis medical research. We need to lobby for investment in a center of cannabis research that will reap many benefits in terms of future economic development, and we can be leaders to help people more fully understand the benefits and drawbacks of cannabis use. Plummeting prices have created serious problems for all cannabis businesses. We need to act quickly to make changes to the original, highly restrictive regulations passed during the first years of legalized recreational cannabis. We can protect the health and safety of our citizens while reducing overly burdensome and costly overly cumbersome and costly regulatory burdens, which will help more businesses achieve and maintain profitability. Of greatest concern to me is the need to honestly determine if we're meeting our mandate and doing enough to help social equity and economic empowerment entrepreneurs become licensees who enjoy the economic benefits of this billion-dollar-a-year industry. BBJ reporter Cassie McGrath just wrote an article yesterday pointing out that the promise of equity participation in the licensed cannabis business has not been kept. Quote, between higher rent, higher taxes, strict regulations, advertising restrictions, and the fact that the market is growing more saturated, many cannabis businesses are struggling, and equity businesses face even greater challenges. Just last week, I convened a meeting with the team from Economic Affairs and Mass Development to determine how the currently limited social equity fund can be leveraged to get more money out the door quickly. I'm seeking to convene a meeting with cannabis-friendly banks to see how they can participate in this. The doors of opportunity are closing, and it's up to us to take quick action to ensure that we help as many people as possible achieve success. My personal goal is to increase the number of social equity entrepreneurs that commence operations from the current, I believe the number is 59, to at least 75 by the end of next year. This will take a lot of coordinated effort. And that's why I've called for us to take a look at what we're currently doing and determine how we can move the ball forward to keep this promise to promote ownership among social equity entrepreneurs. We should partner with the Social Equity Fund Advisory Board and other stakeholders to creatively help social equity entrepreneurs get the resources they need. I want to thank Commissioners Camargo and Concepcion for their tireless efforts on social equity and suitability. I want to thank Commissioner Roy for her work around prevention and supporting veterans. I want to thank Commissioner Stebbins for the work he's done to keep young drivers safe and for championing small businesses. Today, we're going to be looking at micro business. You know, a year ago, we passed Chapter 180, or the legislature passed Chapter 180. We still have not completed the regulatory writing process. We began late. Bill was passed in August. We were not convened to do this regulatory writing until about February of this year. And so one of the things I want to, ask my fellow commissioners is going forward. I think that the next round of regulations just can't wait. And that rather than us being driven by the staff or led by the staff, I think that we need to come to consensus as to what those priorities are. And I think that we need to start, I would like to start assigning work groups Now, it's my understanding there is a work group that's already been in place. I was not aware that there was currently a work group on two driver rule. But I would like us to look at testing. I would like us to look at research. I would like us to look at other sort of regulatory changes. And I'm going to be asking all of you in the next week or so if you could have private conversations with me so I can determine how we might best distribute this work going forward. Again, my apologies for creating any angst or any confusion, but again, I believe that given the limitations, given the time frame, given what I thought was ahead of us, I thought I was making the right decision under the law. So again, I'll pass that on to Commissioner Camargo.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your comments. The open meeting law doesn't allow us to have open conversations. So I think hearing your comments today, I think I appreciate it. I'll say a couple of comments about your comments, if I may. You thanked Commissioner Concepcion and I for social equity. I want to say thank you to everybody, because it's really not just Commissioner Concepcion and I. I think everyone, even before you got here, has been working on equity. Commissioner Roy, Commissioner Stebbins, and I know even before that, the chair before that. So I want to just make sure, because I think sometimes we sort of get signaled out as the folks that are working on equity, myself and Commissioner Concepcion, and that's not the reality. We are working on it, but it has been a team effort at the commission. So I just want to kind of say that. And thank you for the self-reflection that you mentioned. I think we all need it at times. I think in that case, I just want to remind us commissioners, I think it's fair to say, right? I'm happy we're talking about the elephant in the room. Our last meeting was, it was disruptive and uncomfortable. And I think that for commissioners, we are appointed by appointing authorities. There's no one really policing us except our appointing authorities and our team and our staff that sometimes will, tell us what we're doing wrong. But I want to go back to Robert's Rules of Order. I want to remind folks that,
I want to stop right there. It was uncomfortable. Sometimes uncomfortable is good. Number one, comfortable gets shit done. And the other thing, I thought it was interesting that she, well, you know what? Actually, I just want to hear that one last. She said one thing there. Just for this one more thing.
Young and I for social equity. I want to say thank you to everybody, because it's really not just Commissioner Concepcion and I. I think everyone, even before you got here, has been working on equity. Commissioner Roy, Commissioner Stebbins, and I know even before that, the chair before that. So I want to just make sure, because I think sometimes we sort of get signaled out as the folks that are working on equity, myself and Commissioner Concepcion, and that's not the reality. We are working on it, but it has been a team effort at the commission. So I just want to kind of say that. And thank you for the self-reflection that you mentioned. I think we all need it at times. I think in that case, I just want to remind us commissioners, I think it's fair to say, right? I'm happy we're talking about the elephant in the room. Our last meeting was, it was disruptive and uncomfortable. And I think that for commissioners, we are appointed by appointing authorities. There's no one really policing us except our appointing authorities and our.
So the commissioners actually do have someone policing them, the appointing authorities, the executive director. Who is policing them? That's where I wanted to go with that point, because no review. No one's reviewed the executive director's work. No one's given them feedback. There's been no public meeting on it. There's been no private meeting on it. So the person that has the most power of the Cannabis Control Commission, who answers to 5 people, who he plays against each other, right?
Our team and our staff that sometimes will, tell us what we're doing wrong. But I want to go back to Robert's Rules of Order. I want to remind folks that, we have tools, we have the legal team. For myself, I did a lot of reflection, from the last meeting, because I was confused, and maybe what should I said to you should have been like, point of order, right? So that we can sort of pause and see where we're at. But I just want to remind us that we did, take on Robert's Rules of Order, and we need to use it, because otherwise our meetings will become what last meeting was, right? So I just want to kind of say that to us as commissioners, use the tools, talk to legal, and I think it's just putting it into practice, right? And giving ourselves the time to sort of take a break and say, okay, wait, what's going on here right now? Can we have a point on order? Can we have a, point of information for a second? So I wanted to just share that with you all this morning. To staff, I just want to say that and I've said this many a times, I appreciate you all. There's some of you here today. You guys work tirelessly, and the chair, you said it in your comments as well. It is not easy to work as a public servant. You know, we get criticized left and right from, we criticize y'all criticize us, you know, the media, the folks outside. It's very difficult. I know that folks are committed at this place. So I just want to say thank you. I know there's anxiety and emotions sort of going around within the team and staff about how are the commissioners going to act today? What's going to happen today? Is it going to be disruptive? You know, what's going to end up in the paper? So I just want to say to you all, I think that, you know, we need to continue to lead. We are the leadership of this commission and we're the role models. And it is up to us to really set the tone for this commission of how we treat each other, how we work with each other, and how do we move forward. Madam Chair, to your point, there's a lot of work to do. And it's time to sort of really look at regs and figure out how do we help the industry. So I just want to say that.
So I've heard a lot of talk about the staff, their feelings. I've heard a lot about the media. Now I've heard about the industry, but I haven't heard anything about workers who've died. Has anyone, I mean, how do you think Laura feels every single day?
Our team, and to the media, I just want to say to y'all, we have a communications team, use them. We have commitments.
If I really wanted to be mean, I'd show all the emails I sent to the communications team. Some of them were mean. I mean, you know.
You know, there's 5 commissioners. You can email us, fact check before you.
Well, all the scoops that we've had this year, the last couple of years, you know how many came from the Cannabis Control Commission? I could think maybe one. And it wasn't from that communications team. It was leaked.
Write stories. We all know that stories sell, but stories also impact us as people and as human in our day-to-day lives, with our families, with our kids, our spouses.
A lot of victimhood here tonight. A lot of families. What about Lorna's family?
And even our health and our mental health. So I want to just say, use our communications team when you want to do some fact finding. And I'm excited to be here today. I know there's a lot of work to do, Madam Chair. I know we'll talk a little bit about.
I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice. I am. I'm going to offer both of them if they want to come on the show. We'll see. I don't. I bet they don't, but we'll see. I'm going to reach out to them too.
And some of the stuff that is on the agenda, I'm assuming that we packed the policy portion because we're not having another meeting in August. So I just wanted to make those comments and thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Now, I just want to make note. Do you think that she was talking about us when she was talking about giving advice to the media? People having laughs with us, LOL. And here's Laura. She says, my profile picture shows Lorna when she was 3. Just wanted you to see my baby when she was a baby, Mike. That's what we're fighting for. People who have died. And hopefully there's no more. And other people who have been suffering in silence at the industry warehouses, these jobs where people get sick. And there's another comment. Same thing applicants feel, stress to our families, that Facebook user, right? Exactly. You know, it's really, you know, I think they're tone deaf. Like it's when they're talking about the stress of being a commissioner in our families, like, you've bankrupted people. How much stress do you think my buddy Warren Lynch has? He's suing the city of Malden right now because the Cannabis Control Commission couldn't act quick enough. I mean, Shannon O'Brien called it out earlier. You just heard Shannon O'Brien say we couldn't get the regs out quick enough. We're way delayed. We're way behind. Shannon O'Brien wants to get shit done now because she knows that every day that goes by, people are suffering. You know how much stress there is for applicants? Do you know how many stress there is for workers who get their hours cut and get treated like shit and gaslit, and then they get sick and die? How much stress for the families that your daughter, who's 27 years old, has died, and you still haven't gotten any information from the Cannabis Control Commission, who has made like lots of money, tens of hundreds of millions of dollars off this. You got no information on the investigation that started over 18 months ago. After OSHA closed the investigation, after OSHA didn't just close the investigation, they closed the appeal process. The federal government that never acts quickly has acted before the state of Massachusetts, who are the primary regulators of the industry. So for me, when I hear that stuff, it's tone deaf. I just don't understand how they don't realize that. Let's listen to some more of this.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Commissioner Camargo. So usually I'm known to not have comments prepared. I drive up here and I sort of let my mind and spirit guide me before I get here. Last meeting was unorthodox. And it was the comments, chairwoman, that you made around, I won't even reiterate at this point. It took away from the moment and from the work that so many people here have dedicated themselves to. And
do you see a theme here? How tone deaf can you get? This is Ava Concepcion, the Cannabis Control Commissioner. She's saying because the chair of the Cannabis Control Commission brought up the fact that Sean Collins was going on leave and was looking to resign, and that they were short-staffed and they had staffing issues and that they're way behind, that took away from all the work the Cannabis Control Commission has done, and that this is personal. And this, are you serious? Sounds like you don't want to hear anything negative ever about your Cannabis Control Commission. It sounds like it's got to be you guys are the greatest thing in the world every single time, even though we all know you're not, including yourself. I mean, I think deep down that they know that there's a problem. They just don't want it in public. They're worried about what the previous Cannabis Control Commission have said. They're worried about the media. They're worried about the show. They're worried about the Globe. They're worried about. Meanwhile, they ignore what the Globe actually wrote in the editorial. The problem isn't the bad headlines. The problem is that you don't do anything after the bad headline. The problem isn't the bad headline. It's the problem that you don't care, that you're not taking action, that you can't hear criticism. That's the problem.
that has really lingered in my mind because it is beyond us. It showed a lack of consideration for the groundwork that was done by the prior iteration of the commission. It showed a lack of consideration for all the work that went into not just the regulations, but the creation of Chapter 180, the passage of that law. And
Wait. I was there for that. Where were you? Like, now you're speaking for me. I was there. I know who was there. You weren't there. So don't speak for us. Don't speak for the community that was here fighting for legalization, fighting for decrim in 2008, medical 2012, legal 2016. I know who led those campaigns. I was there for them. You weren't there. Now you're speaking for us. What Chair O'Brien did had nothing to do with what we fought for.
the work that went into drafting all of those policies and considerations that are now available to the public. And I wanted to take a step back to really give that moment the attention it deserves, because I think that was overshadowed, unfortunately. We know.
So they're worried that their big moment got overshadowed. That's what it is. They want to get this is what it's about. Look at me. I did good. We did good. Let's not have anything bad. It's ridiculous. Ego. Politicians.
Prior commission, the commissioners here, we knew that there was change needed. We knew that there was a lot lacking in terms of equity, HCAs, everything that is contained within Chapter 180 as a result of commissioners, both current and prior, who understood that there was work to be done and there was no time to waste. In fact, if you look back on some of our
But time has been wasted over and over and over and over again. And if we bring that up, you attack and say we're discounting all the work of all these people. We're going to name all these people. Some who speak to us who agree with the governance issue that we are bringing up on the show tonight.
our meetings in the past when we advocated for a Chapter 180, we discussed that. We discussed that there was no time to waste, that there are people whose livelihoods, whose lives depended on this. And I've said this multiple times that I don't take this job lightly. I think that it comes across, I hope it comes across when I'm speaking to anyone about the work that we all do. And we're lucky to have a staff that really dedicates themselves to the mission of the Cannabis Control Commission. It's very clear and evident. And I've been fortunate. We talked about how I'm on all these working groups, so I helped in the drafting of every consideration that's contained in those drafts. And the benefit of that is that I've had the ability to really build and understand the team that we have here. And I know, and I have faith and trust in them because of the hours they put in, because of the dedication, because of the knowledge they have. Last meeting, Andrew Carter, Rebecca Lopez, Kyle Potvin, they did phenomenal. And I want to recognize them because they were able to really answer any and all questions that were thrown their way. They did so in a really concise, accurate manner. They put law above all else. And I just want to thank them and make sure that they get that recognition because that was overshadowed. The other thing I want to talk about is I want to extend my gratitude to former Chairman Hoffman, former Commissioner Doyle, former Commissioner McBride, former Commissioner Title, former Commissioner Flanagan, because the HCA reform started with them. And that is why we have these new regs now. That is why we have the Chapter 180. Commissioner Camargo and myself, we did bring the creation of the Social Equity Fund. That was something that we advocated for here in the public meeting. The creation of the executive and legislative outreach strategy. All of these things went into the creation and advocacy efforts around Chapter 180. It was not easy. It was not light. It took years. And when I say years, I mean from the creation of the commission. This is the first change to our laws, to cannabis laws in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts since 2017, and we're just now getting our drafts out. So, 2017 creation, 2022 is when this law was passed, and now we have our regs. So I feel like that is not, when we make comments about different articles that said that the time is now, we need change. This is the change. We're doing the change. The change is here. So what I would advocate for anyone watching, please comment, please take a look at those drafts. It's really vital. This is our work. At our core, we're regulators. This is the core. This is what I'm here for. And I also want to be really, really clear that we are all one of 5 votes. And I feel like that gets a little bit misinterpreted as well in terms of the public. Everyone here has 1 vote. You need a majority to get anything passed. When anyone is speaking, they're speaking in their individual capacity unless we have voted on it, talked about it, and it's gone through a public conversation and public meeting. And I feel frustrated that I have the need to say that on the record. But the comments that were made in our last meeting, unfortunately, and it was misguided, they represented us all.
Oh my God. So let's just break this down. I don't see how they represented you all, and I don't see how they were misguided. And I also don't get how you're so hurt by this. Like this is petty bullshit that's going on here. I want everyone to think about what happened. The chair of the commission brought up that the executive director is going on leave for months during a time where they're doing a regulatory review. during a time when they have all these other issues going on, investigations that haven't been completed, head in the sand. And he's also talking about resigning. And she was honest about it. And she brought it up and said, look, this is an issue. We need to get this out in the open. And notice none of them have said his name. None of them have actually addressed anything that Chair O'Brien said, except they're using like ridiculous language about it. And they're so offended. They're big. It's like they think that like she planned to ruin their like big day. Like they sound like politicians. They really do. They sound like politicians that are totally out of touch with what's actually happening in this industry and what's happened to patients, what's happened to workers, what's happened to applicants. Like your shit is too little, too late. Right here, right now, it's too late. You've acted too slow, and you've had no accountability.
And I cannot stand by that.
I can't stand
Because
by
there was
this.
so
I'm
much
trying to be nice, but I just can't even listen to it.
work put in.
I. That's all I heard from her. I.
There's so many hours put in. We started way before February. This started years ago.
Yeah, when you weren't
And
there.
I just want to say
If this started for me in 1999. Didn't see you
thank you
there.
to everyone who has been a part of that process. Thank you to everyone who remains dedicated to the work, both internally and externally, because it's not about me. It's about the people who have been harmed by the war on
Not about me. I. Not about me.
drugs, and I talk about this frequently. It's about
I
the people
talk
who
about
are
this
trying
frequently.
to get their
I do. I talk about it frequently.
lives together because they're committed so much of themselves to their businesses. And it's about the people who are working every day in this industry. So I have nothing more to add. You know,
I
if the
have
spirit
nothing
moves me
more.
to add anything more, I will. But
I should add more later.
that's what I have today. Thank you.
That's what I have.
Thank you for your comments. Commissioner White.
Good morning, everyone. And I'm going to be really brief today. I just want to start by saying that I appreciate everyone's open and honest comments and discussion. I think it's vitally important for this board to be able to have that and to exercise that. I just want to.
I think I've had enough of this tonight. I think I got to wrap it up too. I did want to talk about Kim tonight. We will talk about Kim real quick. Something came out. This is funny. Because the other two commissioners were pretty good. If I had more time, I would play all the other commissioners too. But I am running out of time, and I do have to go. I got a couple things to do. But this week as well, Kim Rivers. We got a little graphic here that some of our supporters made for us about Kim Rivers. There were some comments about Kim Rivers online, and we asked for backup on it. People were saying that she had many arrests, some of them for violence and ID fraud. So we asked for documentation. We did actually get some documentation about an arrest that she had in 1998, I believe it was, for ID fraud. She basically had a fake ID. She was underage for alcohol. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but Florida turned it into a felony. So Kim Rivers has quite the extensive, it turns out, criminal record. And this one on the fake ID bust, the most interesting thing about it is at the end, cops asked her, like, how did you get the ID, the fake ID? And it turned out she had gotten it from her boyfriend at the time. And her boyfriend at the time, she said she wouldn't tell the cops his name. She didn't want to rat on him, but she would she did let the cops know that her husband or her boyfriend, excuse me, at the time, had been interviewed, and it looks like he had even been charged by the FBI about it. So I just thought it was hilarious that here we have Kim at age 1920. She's dry stitching on her boyfriend, who is being investigated by the FBI, and it would be her first boyfriend investigated, because later on she would have a husband that would get investigated by the FBI and he would be jailed. So I just thought that was interesting that Kim Rivers seems to pick men who get investigated by the FBI. It's a common trait among men that she dates. And then later in 2014 in Georgia, it was revealed that she had been arrested for some family simple battery, disorderly conduct for an incident in December 2014. So we had reported on that, but that's basically where I'm going to leave it tonight. We'll get to the rest later. I want to thank everyone for listening. If this is your first time, definitely subscribe, like, follow us on Facebook. Thank you so much. We're the Young Jerks. We'll see you next time.